What's up, guys? Here with you, FC Wonderkid, episode 129, here with my guy, Bretson. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Alex. There is so much to talk about, so I don't even want to say hi or ask you how you're doing because it is that packed. We've got the Golden Boy, we've got Ballon d'Or, we've got the Premier League, Manchester Derby, we've got El Clasico. I mean, there's just way too much here, and I think last week we went a little bit over. So we don't want to keep people here all night, but we might. We might. I'm excited. There's so much to talk about. But I do have to ask you, because it's been 128 episodes previous to this, asking you doing okay? Or you finally give in to football coma here?
This was one of the best weekends in terms of watching football, okay? I was shook with the amount of games that we managed to see. There was even other sports, World Cup final of rugby. That was nice too. But the football, that was indeed didn't disappoint. But don't forget to like this video, to watch every single podcast weekly, and to say to us that you are enjoying the content. But yes, La Liga title race, the El Clasico. What a bold match it was. And once again, the legacy of Jude Bellingham was in full display in El Clasico. A remontada with the signature of JB5 that Vinicius Jr. commented, JB5 equals CR7. Right, that is a bold take by Vini, but he saw it. Legacy, Galactico. That's a stardom, Jude Bellingham right now with that celebration. Okay, Ronaldo's got the C, but Jude Bellingham now has his own iconic celebration too. And 13 games, 13 goals, 3 assists. That is 100 million, making 100 million be a bargain right now. Yeah. The best English player in the world, and that is a big statement. Trust me, because who is he against? We're gonna mention more in the podcast ahead, people.
Oh. My goodness. Yeah, a good day for English players abroad. Or a good weekend, I should say, for English players abroad. But I'm going to say it, what everyone's thinking here. Barcelona, for the majority of the game, was the better team. They absolutely were the better team. And while Jude Bellingham was the difference maker with the 2 goals, I got to hand it to Ancelotti for bringing on Modric, for bringing on Camavinga when it looked like Ferland Mendy was getting burnt down that left side. So some really, really good kind of momentum shifting moments in this game. But it was a game of 65 minutes that Barcelona won, and then a game of 25 minutes that Jude Bellingham won.
It's true. And with Ancelotti, I'm going to kind of agree with you, because I do agree that Camavinga coming on and Modric coming on changed the game. But I think Mendy shouldn't start when Camavinga's available, even on the bench now. Okay, Camavinga should have started from the start, and the Luka Modric substitute was the most important moment in the El Clasico for Real Madrid. I totally agree with what you're saying. And Jude Bellingham this season, it's going to be the last dance of Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. And Jude Bellingham has already equaled the best tally in terms of goals of Zidane. And it's October right now. Okay, he's learning from the best, and that's what I'm so hyped about. Jude Bellingham grabbed the game, and you said it. Barca was dominant. Barca had the majority of the game. They had control of the game. I agree with what you said. But what Barca didn't have was the lethal capacity to finish the game. Ferran Torres, Lewandowski, they didn't appear when they needed most. And the most important player of Barcelona, or definitely top 3, is Gavi. That was a masterclass that we managed to see. Jess Bellingham, masterclass, Galactico moment with those 2 goals. But Gavi turned up, and the world was watching, okay? World-class, generational talent coming with Gavi. I wouldn't be surprised if he was captain again this season already. 19.
Oh, and you could see it in his face after when he was saluting the fans. It was almost tough to watch. I mean, this is a 19-year-old kid that wears his heart on his sleeve, and he was on the verge of tears because he felt, just like Ilkay Gundogan said in his post-game comments, he felt like this was a tough one to drop. They should have won this. And Alex, this is not exactly surprising. I don't know if you've gone back and looked at the history, but in all competitions, Barcelona have lost 5 of the last 6 El Clasicos in Barcelona. 5 of the last.
And Barcelona
6.
were unbeaten 13 games before this one.
It's
13 games. It's the boogeyman effect. It's the
It
boogeyman
is.
effect. And it's when it has to happen, it happens with Real Madrid. And in this game, there was an interesting fun fact that in this El Clasico, it was the 9th El Clasico of Gavi, and we had the youngest player ever to play in El Clasico, Lamine Yamal, 16 years and 107 days. And we had the oldest player to play in an El Clasico with Luka Modric at Real Madrid with 38 years old and 47 days. That was the most important substitute in that game, no doubt, and changed the course of it. And Real Madrid, notice that Real Madrid now, Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Tchouaméni, Camavinga, they are starting to bond with each other on and off the pitch. You can see the chemistry going up, and that's what you need. A happy group and a group that is willing to build the foundations to win a Champions League. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. With Ancelotti, with Xabi Alonso, with whoever. Jude Bellingham, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Camavinga. They all want to win and make history with this team. Okay, so Los Blancos, they're looking scary for the future, Breton.
They are, because Ancelotti still does not see Jude Bellingham as a goal scorer. An out-and-out goal scorer. And I would have to agree with him. I mean, he's already surpassed, I believe, I might be wrong about this. I did not verify this, but he might have already surpassed his goal total for Dortmund, right? For Dortmund, right? In 13 games, he's done this. But when we're looking outside at the El Clasico, or El Clasico. That's redundant to say the El Clasico. You need figures to step up. And you mentioned the boogeyman effect, right? And Jude Bellingham just stepped up to perpetuate that, to continue that on, because there has not been a remontada Clasico win in over 35 years. Ooh. And Jude Bellingham was just the reason that happened. He just reset that clock, okay? And to have a person like that on your team, obviously that's immense. It's immense even for one of the biggest clubs, if not the biggest club in the world in stature. And you look at it and you say, if you can get Jude Bellingham and you can get Vinicius Jr. and you can get Rodrigo back into the swing of things, and you can find a I mean, you already mentioned it. You've already said it. Real Madrid's future is just insanely bright. It might blind you. And you can say the same thing on the other side. But if the boogeyman is Real Madrid, and Barca was still able to win La Liga next season, but the next site is obviously Champions League, then they're gonna have to get over this. They're going to have to figure a way to get this done, and no better way to do that than come back out in El Clasico and beat them at the Bernabeu.
It's true. It's true. And you're mentioning this insanely bright future that it shines so much. And it's true. And if Real Madrid, with all that they have for the future, with Valverde, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Rodrigo, Vinicius, and they still get Xabi Alonso, Alphonso Davies, and Kylian Mbappé, they're the best team in the world. Like Man City, for the pieces they have, they still cannot beat a team like Real Madrid if they manage to assemble these unreal transfers. So let's wait and see if that happens. But in La Liga, we still have other people to mention, because the La Liga title race is involving other teams. And I did go and see Benfica Real Sociedad, and that was such a good team, okay? Real Sociedad's midfield is super underrated, and I'm going to say it's top 10 in the world right now in form. Zubimendi, Brais Mendes, and Mikel Merino. Bold statement, Mikel Merino is the best replacement that Rodri can have at Man City. Calvin Phillips ain't enough, and Merino would understand what Guardiola would need. That is an underrated CDM right there, okay? I really wanted to give the shout out to Real Sociedad, because La Liga, they did draw this weekend, but they're balling out.
They did. They did. They were losing at one point. They actually they fought back, and Mikel Oyarzabal, 26 years old, and he's their captain as well. He's starting to heat up. So I think this run can continue to go. But then again, Real Sociedad has been in the top 5, top 4 the last couple seasons, or maybe even 3 or 4 seasons. It's been pretty routine that Real Sociedad is up there. And what is it going to take to take that next step? And I don't know the answer to that. I'd love to hear what other people think, but I love that you were mentioning Mikel Merino because once upon a time, he was at the Tyne. He was at Newcastle.
Newcastle,
upon Tyne.
yeah, that's true.
He was at Newcastle. It didn't work out. I think injuries derailed him, but he was incredibly promising heading over there. And who knows? Maybe one day he might actually be back there. Give a little more of a Spanish flair, or Spanish with Portuguese flair. Brazilian flair in the midfield at Newcastle. But yeah, I love that you mentioned that on top of the fact that Oyarzabal and Takefusa Kuba is already one of the best players in La Liga in terms of a lot of analytics, a lot of chances created, all that good stuff. Long may it continue, but above them in the table and sitting on top at one point for a long period of time was Girona. And I think that they deserve a whole lot of credit because it's continuing. Alex, they're winning the games that generally they would drop, right?
That's true.
They're winning the games against teams that I guess you look at it and you say on paper that they're even, but a lot of these Girona players have taken a massive step up. And the biggest part of this Girona team, which I believe is it's 9 wins in 11, one loss only, and that only loss was to Barcelona's boogeyman, and that's Real Madrid, right? So the best part of their team is their flanks. They have their flank. Well, it is Savia, absolutely, but I actually think their fullbacks, young fullbacks, are a lot of fun to watch. Now, they've been using Jan Couto, City Football Group. They've been using Jan Couto as a winger and as a fullback, yep. He has had a very good last month plus. But they also have Miguel Gutierrez and Arno Martinez on either side. Yeah, and the average age of those three are 21 years old. And Savio, has he even broken 20 yet? Is he 20 now?
No,
I think he is.
I think he's no. I think or he's just broken to 20. But no,
okay.
Jeez, that's so young. That's so. And they sold Pedro Porro to Sporting in the past. Like, oh my days, man. And young Couto by Miguel Gutierrez was one of the best young fullbacks from La Fábrica in the past 2 years. So they managed to take the risk.
They did. And their midfielder, their playmaker this year, we saw him do it for a brief period last year too, was actually in Manchester City's football system. Not surprising because this is a City Football Group club. But it is Alex Garcia. And I mean, he's got 6 goal involvements this season, and he's up there with chances created per game with the best of them in La Liga. So I'm not saying that Girona can keep this going, but considering how awesome and homey and like on top of the field and the atmospheric their town is, their city is, and how proud they are, I really, really, really want to root for this underdog. I want to see them go pretty far this season. And it'd be great to see them maybe even get a win over Barca at some point, considering they're right down the road from each other. I don't know if it'll happen, but you got to love it.
Castellano scored like 4 goals against Real Madrid last season. So that did happen. So we might as well see something happen like that this season. And my last mention with La Liga is I want to give a bit of love to one of the most underrated transfers that happened this summer was free agent Isco landing at Real Betis. Okay, 5 goal involvements and 7 man of the match awards for Isco in these past few games. And Real Betis are a top 8 team in La Liga because of this legend. He's been constantly underrated because yes, he didn't play a lot of years at Real Madrid, but he is a baller. Okay, he's dealt with the best in the world, and that's the routine. Okay, still in La Liga. It's good to see players like that.
New lease on life there.
It's true.
It's great to see him.
And you mentioned with Oyarzabal. Oyarzabal played winger and striker. He played striker against Benfica. I really wanted to mention that. And when I watched Real Sociedad Benfica too, I witnessed Takefusa Kubo. If it's not going back to Real Madrid, it's going somewhere that he's going to be one of the best wingers in the world. Left-footed. He is so special, people, okay? A team like Liverpool without Salah, a team like City, Arsenal, all in the need of a winger. Kubo is that guy, okay? He's the leader of Japan next to Mitoma. And he's the leader for me, Kubo. Unreal player.
And for those that are not aware, I know Alex probably doesn't want to bring this back up again, but Real Sociedad midweek were able to go to the Estadio da Luz
Exactly.
and
They
get a win. And that's shocking because when you think of the Estadio da Luz, you think of it as a fortress. And there's been some weird things happening with Benfica at the Estadio da Luz, especially in the Champions League. But I'm sure it'll snap back to being a fortress soon enough. And
I don't know,
they're still in it.
Because they've played Red Bull Salzburg, Real Sociedad, but they still haven't played Inter at home. They're in the same group. But people, let us know your thoughts about La Liga. Who's going to win La Liga? And some interesting topics, facts down below in the comment section is much appreciated. But Premier League too. We had an El Clasico in La Liga, but we had a Manchester derby. Then no surprises once again. We see Man City completely dominating Man United, and this is a Man City with future legacy players like Ruben Dias, Erling Haaland, Julian Alvarez, Phil Foden, Rodri, the best CDM in the world, and no Kevin De Bruyne, and they dominate Man United once again. Embarrassing right now what's happening at United, and they must fix things. No Casemiro in this game, and still, Amrabat and McTominay couldn't contain this midfield. Just couldn't.
And yet another game where they don't have a goal from an out-and-out striker. We are going the whole season waiting for that. And if people have not been paying attention to Manchester United that much, their leading scorer in the Premier League currently is Scott McTominay with 3. So there's just this massive gaping chasm of talent, of structure between Manchester City and Manchester United right now. And this is one of the first times, that's not true. We've said this previously. I'm lying to myself. I'm going to say what I think some of us are thinking, but Erik ten Hag looks like a deer in the headlights. I don't think he knows what to do. He's got infighting going on. I'm sure there's some sort of vitriolic thoughts about the ownership group as well, which everybody seems to have when you talk about Manchester United and the Glazers. And you have people on the field that he speaks through, right? He's got a leadership core, but you add injuries to that. You add all sorts of just dumb mistakes, things that are just not what we're used to. And I just don't understand it. But Manchester City was class. It looked like it was a walk in the park for them. And I think the best thing on the day for Manchester United was Andre Onana. He made some key saves.
And at Copenhagen, too, in the Champions League, that last-minute save gave a lot of hope to Onana and to Maguire, too. I think Maguire is in better form. I completely agree with that. But still, seeing like a Rafael Varane on the bench, it always cringes me out when I saw it, today. I felt really bad seeing that. But with Erik ten Hag, I agree with you. A lot of pressure is pointed at Erik ten Hag because Man United don't have a sporting director. It's absolutely crucial to have that to divide the pressure towards the transfers. Man United's biggest problem is the pressure with transfers. And the right now, the productivity of them is shambolic. I like Winter Højlund in terms of potential and talent. And in the Champions League, he's looking good. But in the Premier League, 0 goals. Anthony, 0 goals. Jadon Sancho, 0 goals. More than £200 million spent with those 3 players. Zero output. And that's what Man United are begging right now. Garnacho should have more minutes too. Rashford's output dropped massively. Why don't we see Garnacho more? That's my doubt. Why not? And he deserves that because he's got that extension too and the trust of the manager. Because I surely doesn't want to see his manager, Erik ten Hag, go down. Maybe he didn't like how Cristiano Ronaldo was treated, Garnacho, which I would understand that.
It could be. But within the first 30 minutes, Alex, Manchester United had several, outnumberings. They had several great attacking opportunities where if they made the right decisions in that final third, they could have potentially had a goal. But time and time again, the decision-making just kind of shut them down. And one time it was Rashford, another time it was Højlund, another time it was McTominay. But they constantly did overload. They forced turnovers in midfield, and they were able to get on there. But then you go back to this statistic that was just mind-blowing, and I'm stealing it from the actual commentary on it. But within the first half, all Premier League season, Manchester United has only led for a total of 29 minutes.
Oof.
29 minutes.
No dominance from
29
them.
minutes.
No dominance.
Nothing. There's no coming out of the gates. There's no just poor people ahead. I don't know who to put that blame on because I'm not smart enough
on
to
the
be
leaders.
there.
You must put the blame on the leaders of that locker room. Rashford, Casemiro, big doubts upon them. Lisandro Martinez, Rafael Varane. They should be adding experience to this team. Eriksen. Why is Eriksen there? A lot of quality, but a lot of experience too. Those are the doubts that I have. It's not Rasmus Winter-Heulen that I'm going to put fingers on. It's a youngster, not Garnacho. So I agree. Good point with that. And look what we said at the start of this Manchester derby. I focused upon the legends that are being established at Man City. You don't get that feeling at Man United because there are no foundations right now. But Rasmus Winter-Heulen would have the quality to be one day a legend. Foden has it because he was built upon the right foundations with Pep Guardiola. And going with that, Erling Haaland right now has the same amount of goals in the Premier League as Man United right now. Once again, we need to see Winter-Heulen doing better. Rashford doing better. I know he's a winger, but he's a key player for that establishment. He's a legend too. So big doubts are coming, and Haaland in 45 Premier League games, he's got 47 Premier League goals. Man City right now are favorites to win the Champions League once again. They're favorites to win the Premier League once again. If he gets a European treble, back to back. That is like one of the best goal scorers ever in the history of football, and he's only 23. Okay, and it's the second season at Man City. Oy, Jesus. Learning from the best. Guardiola.
And I just don't know how long exactly. Guardiola. I mean, obviously that's easy to say that is the biggest difference here, but the discipline, the decision making that has been just drilled into these players. Bernardo Silva is going to make that pass that leads to that Erling Haaland goal, right? You know that Erling Haaland is, even though he's got it at a weird acute angle, he's going to fire it back across because even though there's 4 Manchester United defenders collapsing on the goal trying to get in front of Phil Foden, he already knows where Foden is. He puts it right there. It seems easy, but that's the type of decision making that's just drilled into them by a disciplinarian like Pep Guardiola. And there's a difference there. And I don't know if Ten Hag's ever going to get there. And maybe this does all go back to ownership structure, lack of a GM, lack of whatever. But the question is how do you press flip and reset and start all over without not showing up to all of your home games to show the Glazers a lesson? To teach the Glazers a lesson. I don't know the answer here. I feel for United fans. But when it comes down to it, I don't know what gets you better. You need somebody, to be honest, you need somebody like Big Ange in there. You need somebody that's all sunshine and rainbows. Even though he's not all sunshine and rainbows, he comes out and he says, I'm going to look for the positivity in this.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
I'm going to find the positivity. I'm going to focus on the positivity, which, it would start with maybe starting Garnacho more. That's it, because when I see Garnacho play, that's positive football. I like to watch Garnacho play. At least give your fans that.
Intent to kill. You can see it with him. He wants the one-on-one moments. He wants the moments to shine Garnacho. I completely agree with what you're saying. And yes, Erik Ten Hag does look really bad with how the situation's going. But going with what you said about how the structure up top would influence with how they're playing on the pitch, look at this, Breton. Would you imagine Man United right now in the next 3 years selling a player like Cole Palmer of the academy, a player like that at Man United? They don't know. They would never do that. Even a James Trafford for 20 million. A player like that in Man United, they would never do that. They would never do those types of sales. Carlos Borges, James Trafford, Cole Palmer, Man City are run the right way, the right structure. They fundamentally respect the player's career, have a career plan for every player they have, and if it's not working out, like Jean Cancel, they just say goodbye, my friend. Gundogan, if you don't want to sign, goodbye, my friend. Mahrez, if you don't want to be here, goodbye, my friend. And Man City always have a solution. And that's what you don't feel at Man United. You don't feel like they have solutions towards the problems that are multiplying by the week.
Yeah.
Multiplying.
Yeah.
So this is, it's quite sad. But let us know down below if you have solutions towards Man United and what's happening. But yes, you mentioned Tottenham, mate. Will Tottenham do the impossible and win the Premier League? And Harry Kane wins it with Bayern Munich, or not. Bayern Leverkusen wins it. But the whole point is Tottenham wins with Harry Kane in the first season. That would be historic, mate.
Oh, that would be historic, and it might also be a little too sunshine and rainbows to bring back that phrase that I attached to Big Ange. But you gotta love what's happening there, and it is, you're playing positive football, you're playing exciting football. Well, you do have rough and tumble in the back with Mickey Van de Ven, and you've got Cuti Romero in there, but everyone or almost every one of those transfer targets has so far panned out. Son has become a big man without literally having to be the big man every game. James Maddison is flipping revelation, okay? 9 goal involvements. He's second in the league in assists. And this guy watched his beloved Leicester City get relegated last season. And let's be honest, Leicester City is way too good for the championship. I think they'll be back up next season. But it is very, very, very impressive at the cultural shift. What's going to happen at Tottenham at some point is they will get punched in the mouth. It'll be an injury, it'll be something, and it's going to be, how do they respond to that? But right now, like Big Ange says, enjoy this, not because we're top of the table, but because these guys are putting everything out on the field. They're playing great positive football. I enjoy watching it as the coach. I don't have to scream and, get angry all the time, and I'm putting words in his mouth. But it is just a lot of fun to watch. So I don't know the answer to can Spurs win the league, because we are only, 10 games in?
Yeah.
8 wins, 2 draws, 10 games. But right now, Spurs fans, you can dream.
It's unbeaten right now. Tottenham are unbeaten, and they've faced already some tough matchups, including Arsenal, that are unbeaten too in the Premier League. But what we were saying with Man United, these new references, these new icons, Big Ange, he's just have one preseason, and we already see new icons at Spurs. Tottenham's new references with Big Ange in one season right now, in October already. It's Son, James Maddison, Mickey Van de Ven. Romero is seen as one of the best center backs in the world. Udogie and Pedro Porro is a great fullback duo. And even Mickey Van de Ven is, with Romero, a great center back duo. That was the problem. People would mock Eric Dyer, would mock Davinson Sanchez. I don't see hate towards now the defense. And even Bissouma. What a work has been done with Bissouma. Okay, Papsar, Bissouma. So Big Ange has already increased the value of the squad that he's working with too. So that's what you need from a manager.
And that midfield's only going to get better. And that's the thing. There's a blend of buying great footballers, but also buying the intangibles, right? Those that have that chip on their shoulder, that are determined, that will fight for every ball. I mean, listen, Richarlison, okay, you can make fun of him all you want in terms of not scoring or hitting the back of the net more often than you think he should. But there's no doubt that he fights for every ball. There's no doubt that he at least tries, and he's part of that, and everybody on that team wants to see Richarlison do well. And Harry Kane obviously did, he did embody this to an effect, but there was just always so much attention put on Harry Kane that recentering everything around Son, having Maddison, just you're putting not everything on one person's shoulders. You are spreading all of that expectation, all of that excitement, all of that whatever, all around. And there are enough people on that team that can take it. And if they have a really, really smart, we'll talk about this in the future, but if they have a really smart winter window, they could go far. But top 2, top 3, I think, would be just an absolutely wonderful season for Spurs again.
I think so. I think so.
I think that's realistic.
I think top 4 right now, the favorites towards top 4 is Man City. For me, Man City are favorites towards winning the Premier League. And the top 4 right now for me is Liverpool, Arsenal, and Tottenham for what they're doing. I think Newcastle is fairly close, but mate, what Tottenham, they're still unbeaten. And I'm so impressed with Big Ange. But I mentioned Liverpool, and Liverpool, They're in the top because they remained with Mo Salah. And Darwin Núñez, look at what Darwin Núñez is doing this season. 13 matches, 7 starts, 6 goals, 4 assists. It's all about confidence, and that duo of Darwin with Mo Salah is one of the best offensive duos to watch in the world right now. I am hyped, and I want to see it more times. So, and in his last 6 games too, Darwin has 4 goals and 3 assists. Very in form. Very informed right now.
Absolutely. And obviously, you've mentioned many times on previous podcasts that Dominic Szoboszlai is one of the, if not the best signing in Premier League.
Madison and Szoboszlai.
Transfer window. Oh, yeah. I don't think you can even argue it, right? Between those two. The only question is which one is, right? Because, hey, Spurs is technically ahead of the Reds right now. But. True. And Liverpool, they're doing what they need to do, which, very simply put, is beat the teams you're supposed to beat and get up for the massive games that lie ahead for them. And Klopp is back. Klopp is back to Klopp, which is great to see. But listen, I don't mean. Do you have anything else to say about Liverpool?
Well,
I had a feeling they were going to beat Forest.
Okay. I've got something else too. It's Mo Salah. It's Mo Salah for me. Mo Salah, once again, consecutively, every week we see Mo Salah balling out. And Mo Salah right now has 60 goal involvements in his last 64 matches for Liverpool. This is a Liverpool legend. Maybe the best Liverpool player in this last decade, okay? That's not a bold statement. I think that could be fudge. And he's one of the best wingers in Premier League history too. So the fact that he stayed, the fact that he loves this club, the fact that he's here to prove people wrong, it's great to see. So Mo Salah, keep doing what you're doing. And Luis Diaz, unfortunately, we had the news that both parents were kidnapped. Okay, that happened during this weekend, but the mother has been rescued. Fabrizio Romano has informed. We need to now save our prayers to see if the father can be rescued too, but it's such a sad situation. Yeah. But good to see Diogo Jota supporting his teammate and putting the shirt up, showing support when he scores the goal. That's Diogo Jota. That's another one that's massively underrated. Mate, Liverpool have such a good team, but it's because Mo Salah did stay too.
But, within those top 4 projections, there's somebody currently in the table right now. They might be 5th now, depending on recent results. But we got to give some love to Aston Villa right now. 7 wins in 10. They're 5 points ahead, clear of Newcastle. They're sitting in 5th, I think was the last time I saw it. They're top of their Conference League group, so they're actually managing fairly well. A dual campaign here. And you've got Ollie Watkins. He was the first player in the Premier League to reach 5 goals, 5 assists. So he's actually creating some sort of relationship with Moussa Diaby, who I don't think he's even scratched the surface of what he can do for Villa this season. You've got Douglas Luiz. That's probably one of the most in-form and still underrated midfielders, in my opinion, in the Premier League.
CDM, definitely.
And you've got Bouba, and he's played a multitude of roles because he's also scoring goals for them. He's got 5 goals. He's their penalty kick taker, and he's got 3 of those 5. So they're getting it from all over the place. And you're doing this with obviously the normal Buendia injury, the normal Bailey is in and out of the lineup. Boubacar Kamara, who's a phenomenal signing, he's also somewhat off injured. You've got the wingbacks of Cash and Digne that on their best day could be considered like top 3, maybe top 5 fullbacks in the Premier League on their best day, but they've had a really rough run of kind of getting in there, and they're getting into form together. And we haven't even gone in and talked about Emiliano Martinez. We haven't talked about John McGinn and his leadership. So there is just so much to be excited about here. I don't know how long it will continue, but here I am again saying I would love to see it because Unai Emery he has had magic. Yeah, and I didn't even mention their center backs right now. But this is what I was getting to. Yeah, this is what I was getting to. They have at least, and this is what United should work for, they have at least always looked at making Villa Park their fortress. 12 home wins in a row. They've already beaten their record, right? They do it every time they win again. And 34 goals, Alex, scored over this run. They've conceded only 6, and one of them was an own goal against Luton Town this past weekend. And for the first time in over 100 years, Villa, in their first 5 opening home fixtures, have managed 3 goals scored plus every game. They have scored 4 on average a game in those 5 home games.
And against Brighton and West Ham.
Exactly, 6 against Brighton. This is what I mean by at least go for the jugular when you're at home. At least swing for the fences and fail gloriously, right?
Completely.
People, and I'm not trying to, draw parallels to Villa and Manchester United at this moment, but it just feels like what United needs is they need somebody that's going to throw maybe a little caution to the wind, because how much worse can it get? Right? Give them what they've come for. This is Gladiator. This is Russell Crowe saying, "Are you not entertained?" Where's Bruno Fernandes saying that to the crowd? Right? And Villa at least is giving their crowd, because we're not even talking about their away record, but Villa is at least giving their fans their money's worth every time they show up. And at some point this will end, but they have a really wonderful cohesive unit. And, Unai Emery's only been in charge a year. So I love it. I love the story. I don't think we've talked about him too much recently, but good on him, because it's a lot of fun to watch.
And from what we said from Man United, Villa are full empowerment of Villa, Brighton, Newcastle show to Man United that good transfers, good decision making has a vital impact on the pitch too. And the manager decisions of De Zerbi, Unai Emery, and Eddie Howe, all 3 are to the T. Phenomenal ones. Unai Emery is the big reason why Villa can do a 6-1 win against Brighton, and the West Ham, I think it was 4-1 too. So those are elite results, and you said it. And 6 clean sheets in all those 12 games. Okay, so that's massive in what is happening. But let us know down below, what have we missed from the Premier League? Arsenal, Chelsea. Chelsea, it's always used that they're losing, and Arsenal, it seems to be always used that they're winning. So let us know down below your comments about these clubs, what you're thinking, and yes, let us know your thoughts.
And I'm sorry, because you wrapped it up so nicely in a bow, Alex. I'm sorry, but I know. Okay, Chelsea lost to Brentford, but we got to give a little respect to Thomas Frank for making Stamford Bridge his own personal playground. He has won 3 times at Stamford Bridge. He has won the exact amount of times, or the exact amount of home wins, I guess, that Chelsea has over that time period as well. Right? And he has found a way to continue to win. And those people that think that they won on analytics, or they think that they were more progressive, it doesn't matter. Because when all was said and done, Brentford still, walked out of there. So it's what's the saying? 2 steps forward, 1 step back for Chelsea. Still was right. Cole Palmer should continue to start. I think anyone can see that. And I'm going to blame Colwill. I'm going to blame Silva. And I'm going to blame Disasi for that opening goal. But it's just good on you, Brentford, for figuring out how to continue to win at Stamford Bridge. And Thomas Frank, a guy that is probably never going to get the credit he deserves for what he has done for, a London-based team that probably will never be part of the top London-based teams. But as of right now, they are Chelsea's boogeyman.
Never know. Unai Emery supposedly was never going to get the respect. He got it at Sevilla, Villarreal, and now he's getting it at Aston Villa. Thomas Frank could be having his best destination next. But let's wait to see if it's going to happen. But yes, only Luton. They've only beaten Luton in their last 6 months at home in Stamford Bridge. And Brentford has beaten them twice in the same space of time right now. Chelsea's biggest problem is a striker. Nico Jackson is not delivering. The goals aren't happening. Expected goals are there, but no goals are actually going in. So Fabrizio Romano has revealed striker priority in the next transfer window in 2024 January. So OZ main news could be the case. But let us know your thoughts down below about what is happening at Chelsea too, because what an amazing start right there from Thomas Frank Breton. All my days. But yes, Ballon d'Or 2023, Lionel Messi's going to win the 8th Ballon d'Or. Completely deserves it in my mind. And we see a lot of people saying, Erling Haaland deserves it too. It's such a bold debate that's happening right now. But let us know in the comment section your thoughts about this one. Do you think Haaland should have won the Ballon d'Or? Do you agree that Messi wins it, the 8th? What is your choice with all this? Breton, how do you feel with it?
Well, I was one of the ones that was just so enamored with the record-breaking capacity of Erling Haaland and just taking the Premier League by storm and just flattening it. And I obviously I've come around. I know that what Messi and Argentina did at the World Cup was simply incredible. Heck, I relive it every day because my little 3-year-old is obsessed with Messi and all he wants to do is watch that World Cup highlight tape. But it for me, I think Haaland he's young. He'll get his chances. He's probably up on that podium next year, the year after that, the year after that, depending on the development of a few other stars.
Podium
sure
winning
talk
it?
about. Well, that's the thing is and that's where I'm going with this, Alex, because if resetting the goal scoring record for the Premier League, widely considered the toughest, league on the planet, if resetting that goal record it doesn't win, I don't know what will for him. It'll be scoring 4 goals in the Champions League final, I guess. Doing another treble again. Going to Real Madrid and doing something different there.
I don't think so.
I think the only thing Erling Haaland is guilty of is something he could not control in the fact that it was a World Cup year. That's it.
And the semi-final and the final in the Champions League that he could have scored.
Well, that's true, but they still won.
And I do agree.
He still did work.
He still had more than 60 goals. I completely agree with what you're saying with that.
Unreal.
But right now, the top 5 of the Ballon d'Or. My top 5 of the Ballon d'Or, I think Messi's finishing first. Haaland's finishing second. Kevin De Bruyne is finishing third. I think Mbappe is finishing fourth. The best player in the World Cup behind Messi. And I think fifth should be another City player that is Rodri. I think he's the most vital player of Man City next to De Bruyne and next to Haaland too. If he's not there, Man City doesn't tick the same way. And Vini Jr. should be in the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or in any conversation, okay, right now. And next season, because it's so obvious right now that Messi's winning this one. Next season, though, like what Jude Bellingham's doing with 13 games, 13 goals, 3 assists. Jude Bellingham is in pole position right now, 2024 Ballon d'Or to win it. Do you agree with me?
I would definitely put him up there. I don't see any way around how you do that now, especially because also this is not a 20-year-old breaking out for Real Madrid. This is a 20-year-old making a very high-profile move to Real Madrid for quite a bit of money, and literally taking those massive, the historic implications of joining a club like Real Madrid and kind of wearing them as shoulder pads, right? Instead of it weighing him down. And on top of that, his stature for and his importance for England continues to blow up in a great way. So I gotta say, definitely he deserves to be there. Another guy I'm going to throw out there for early consideration. The Champions League is going to be a little bit tough for him and what France does in the upcoming Euros. But it's got to be Antoine Griezmann for me. I know Kylian Mbappe is always going to be a part of that. Yep. I got it. But Antoine Griezmann, I don't know. I don't know if Mbappe has the tournaments he has had for Les Bleus if it wasn't for Antoine Griezmann.
Well said.
I just don't know. Right.
I'd say the same for Griezmann if he didn't have Mbappe. But I do think they help each other, though. I do agree with you, Bretson.
Yeah.
I don't think Mbappe would be a World Cup winner at 19 without Antoine Griezmann. I think that's a good take. I think it's a good take. But you're mentioning Mbappe, and look, mentioning Mbappe, I'm gonna say it. For me, Mbappe is the player next to Jude Bellingham that is dominating the world of football this season. In October, at least. Mbappe is the best player in international football, and the best player at club level is Jude Bellingham. So if both players next season are together, Real Madrid. That's the boldest chemistry possible that can happen. And after the Euros, I do believe that will be an announcement that will be done. Maybe even before. Not to concentrate Mbappe in that competition.
But just one thing that blows me away, because any number of these players could take massive steps up from steps that they've already taken up this season. Every one of these players I'm going to mention are 20 or younger. Jude Bellingham, Gavi, Florian Wirtz, Jamal Musiala, Pedri, Eduardo Camavinga, Xavi Simons, even. He's the only one out of a massive major club, but he continues to take steps up. He might be the only one that might not need to be there. But yeah, João Neves, exactly. So, but Bellingham, Gavi, Wirtz, Musiala, Pedri, Camavinga, any one of those guys could really start to glow up even more. I mean, for all we know, Camavinga winds up playing in midfield for France in the future, or winds up supplanting Theo, who continues to get injured every now and again. I don't know. But there is just so much talent in this 20 and younger space. And that's before we even get to the flippin' 17-year-olds that are making their way through. And we'll talk about them in the Golden Boy. But I am just so enamored. And maybe it's because I don't play FM as much as I used to. Maybe I don't play, what is it now? EAFC as much as I used to, or, FIFA. But I am just so enamored with how much depth there is. And how quickly these professionals get professional. It's insane.
It's true. If we're mentioning Kendry Paez, a 2007 boyfriend Independiente del Valle, already being bought by Chelsea, and we're seeing him balling out for his national team at like 15. Mate, that is unreal to see. 16 right now. But at 15, he was already being talked non-stop. But you're mentioning France, no doubt in my mind. France with Kylian Mbappe, captain at 24, with 249 goal involvements at club level in 332 appearances. This is the level, have the best future in football right now. The France midfield in the future with Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Warren Zaïre-Emery is the boldest I can think right now in international football. And I'm not even saying Theo Hernandez, one of the best left backs in the world. Mike Maignan, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Saliba, one of the best young center backs in the world. Griezmann and all this. Ousmane Dembele and all this. There's so many variables that makes this French team with Didier Deschamps a huge threat for the next 8 years in football. They're going to always be at the top. Next to Portugal.
And next to Portugal. Well, I have to, I'm going to ask you, will Deschamps, with the Aurélien Tchouaméni news being out for the next couple months or so, that was just released by Real Madrid, do you think he's bold enough to potentially give Zaïre-Emery a shot?
I'm sorry, Thierry Henry. No more captain of under 21 going back to this national team. He's going to the senior team now. Warren Zaïre-Emery is going to the senior team of the national team, and he's not leaving anymore. Just like João Neves in the Portuguese national team. They've been called, and they're not leaving because that's their talent. That's their level. They're at home. They're at the highest level, and that's where they deserve to be. And 117, and the other 119. Warren Zaïre-Emery is... I don't want to say what Mbappe needed to justify him leaving for Paris Saint-Germain. But Warren Zaïre-Emery will make the Mbappe leaving to Real Madrid a bit more acceptable because he is the captain that is growing in that team. He's been there since he's 8 years old. He's born in Paris. He believes in this project, and there's a new identity in the PSG team. With Kolo Muani, with Gonçalo Ramos, with Ugarte, with Kangin Lee, great player, Barcola that had his first assist too. I believe in what PSG are building, that is not a star-driven team, a potential-driven team in the right roles with the right manager too, that is Luis Enrique. I like this team. A lot of potential with PSG. Not just to dominate, but to be a threat in the Champions League with a united group. But Kylian Mbappe, it's the last year. And that's why, Breton, we're mentioning Ballon d'Or 2024. Jude Bellingham is in pole position. But if Mbappe wins the Euros and PSG are like in the final of the Champions League, the discussion starts to be there. Because that ain't Real Madrid. And if he wins the Euros too, I think Kylian Mbappe can be widely seen as the best player in the world. And you can get that feeling with their win. They beat Remontada. He scored in the 89th minute against Brest this weekend. Okay, he had to appear when they needed, and Kylian Mbappe did that. And you get that feeling that he knows there's no more Cristiano Ronaldo, no more Messi in Europe. There's an opportunity now to win the Ballon d'Or. You get Bellingham with that feeling, and you're starting to get Kylian Mbappe with it. And Erling Haaland, that has 2 braces now in his last 2 games too. So the future of football is... I'm excited. But if we had the top 3, 2024, who'd you put? Jude Bellingham must. God. Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland. No?
Because it's a Euros year.
You're going to put Harry Kane.
I think, oh gosh, no. I have not thought about this enough. I really don't know. Come back to me on that one. Come back to me. But yeah, Bellingham obviously has forced his way in there. And I don't think anyone can argue.
And England, look at England, mate. England's great development that they've had in the last 10 years. And England right now, in the 2024 Ballon d'Or, I think they'll have 2 players in the top 5, with Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane, that made the right transfer moves. Harry Kane, assisting 16 games, 17 goals, 8 assists for Bayern Munich. He's the first player in Europe's top 5 leagues to score 10 goals and have more than 5 assists. That is unreal what he's doing, justifying himself. But I'm going to say it.
And he's...
Golden Boy winner 2023, Jude Bellingham, and he's pole position for the Ballon d'Or. And the Golden Boy winner of 2024, I'm going to say my take. It hurts me not to say João Neves, but I'm going to say Warren Zaïre-Emery. That was the man of the match against AC Milan with 2 assists, a world-class display, and he's already got that starlight, that wonder kid. I'm that guy. I am that guy. Like Bellingham has.
Okay. I would have to agree with you on this, just because he's already taking massive steps for PSG. But Lamine Yamal's probably going to have to be in there at some point too. We'll see how he progresses. And Balde obviously will still be.
I think he'll be second place. Right? Yeah, I think he'll be second place in this Golden Boy in 2023. But you mentioned Football Manager and all this, and for you people at home, if you don't know, Football Manager is not out. We're not sponsored by them, but we just want you guys to have fun and enjoy games. Football Manager is out, and it was interesting to see that the most bought players, top 10 most bought players, all Wonderkids, and I was hyped to see a list of Football Manager's Football Manager list of most Football Manager list of most bought players includes number 1, Valentin Barco. Number 2, Nocto. Number 3, Antonio Silva. 4, Rooney Bargi, the future of Sweden.
Nice.
Number 5, Todibo, that has at least the defense that has conceded the less goals in Europe's top 5 leagues. Patrick Dorgu.
Wonderkid manager.
It's true, Franceschi Farioli. Patrick Dorgu in number 6. Victor Osimhen, okay, he's not a Wonderkid, but number 7, okay, not a Wonderkid here. Number 8, Diomande. 9, Yasser Asprilla of Watford, very good player, South American. And number 10, Martu Baturina. Remember Baturina, okay? Phenomenal midfielder. So FM is helping the ball knowledge of many of their users, and this is a top 10 list that maybe a Golden Boy could be here. Antonio Silva's nominated for the Golden Boy.
No. Yeah, well, Martin Baturina, is that his brother that plays in Liga Portugal? Isn't Rocco Baturina? Doesn't he play for?
I think so. Yes.
Somebody. Yeah. I think he's 23. I think that might be a brother of his. Could be a cousin. I don't know. But there are other names that you should definitely throw in there, because how is Prestiani not in there? How is Claudio Echeverri or Lenny Yoro? Lenny Yoro for Lille. But listen, you mentioned a bunch of those guys. Some of them are 17 or just turned 17. And that's the thing, is when we're looking at Golden Boy, I'm sure it's going to wind up being an 18, 19-year-old next season. But these players right now are all 17 or younger, Alex. Lamine Yamal, George Alenakina, who plays for Royal Antwerp and just became the youngest person since Romelu Lukaku to score in back-to-back Belgian Pro League games. You've got Warren Zaïre-Emery. You've got Kendry Paez, who will eventually be at Chelsea, but right now is balling out for Independiente del Valle. You've got Lenny Yoro, who's a center back that has worked his way into a decent Lille squad in Liga. And I'd be surprised if he doesn't get a big move moving forward. You've got Endrick. You've got Gianluca Prestiani, who we talked about. Eli Krupi, who's already scoring goals in Ligue 1 for Lorient and will be the next Lorient person to make a move. You've got Jorel Hato, who is possibly the only good thing about Ajax right now, which we'll talk about in a second. And then you already mentioned the one. He's one of the top most bought on FM right now, and that's Rooney Bargi. Rooney Bargi is a Swede playing in Denmark who has like 7 goals already on the season, and most of them are him being in a super sub role. So I talked about the quality of the 20-year-olds, but there are already 17-year-olds balling out for their first teams. It's insane.
Unreal.
It's
and
insane.
Lamine Yamal, Barcelona and all this. And you said the brother of Baturina. Yes, you're right. Rocco Baturina is a forward from Gil Vicente. 23-year-old, a youngster, just like his brother. So that could be an interesting story. I know it's not Jude and Joe Bellingham, but Baturinas, one of them is nominated for, I think, Golden Boy too, Baturina. So that is quite a good list of players. So let us know down below what you think who's going to win the Golden Boy in the future 2024 and the Ballon d'Or too in 2024 too. It's always nice to see your predictions, people. But yes,
absolutely.
This is nice to see that the Eredevisie, not nice to see for Ajax fans, but the Eredevisie title race, it has been interesting to watch. PSV right now, 10 games, 10 wins. PSV right now with Luke de Jong, Ricardo Pepi on the bench. Pepi that balled out for Groningen in the past. And now he's just an option. So they are stacked. And I think they're going to win the Eredevisie. Because momentum is with Eredevisie of Peter Bosz. I'm shocked that I'm saying that.
And there are a lot of good young, or not young, but there are a lot of good progressive managers within the Eredivisie. We all know Peter Bosz because he's had time elsewhere previously. He's not that young anymore. But Arne Slot is also not that young, but he's young in kind of managerial years. He'll probably get a big move moving forward. And Feyenoord actually succumbed relatively recently, or over the past weekend, to FC Twente. And that, shockingly, if you go and you look at the Eredivisie race right now, FC Twente has only lost once this year, has only drawn once, and the rest of them are wins. And they are being led by a Tico, a Costa Rican striker, Manfred Ugalde, who once fell out with the Costa Rican national team. I think he's still only 21 years old, and he's got a bunch of goals this season in the Eredivisie. And then on top of that, you've got AZ Alkmaar, who's up there as well. But PSV... My goodness, PSV is just too much fun to watch right now, and they have threaded the needle perfectly of veteran status players that have already figured out the Eredivisie, like Luc de Jong. Bringing back Chucky Lozano to the Eredivisie was smart. He scored a hat trick over the weekend. You've got and then you've got who else? Who's the other one? Joey Veerman, who is still relatively young, but he has obviously already been, I don't know. I mean, he's too good for the Eredivisie right now. Okay?
Gustil.
But yeah, and Gustil, yes, bringing him back as well was incredibly smart. And then you throw in there
Noah Lang,
Serginho Dest, bringing him back. You throw in Noah Lang. There's just a lot to be very excited about. And then you have Johan Bakayoko, who will likely be the next person to make a massive move from PSV Eindhoven. But 35 goals. We were talking about at least giving your fans something to get up for every morning. And you can't argue with 35 goals in 10 games. 10 straight wins to start the season. It's so much fun. So if you're not watching the Eredivisie right now, even though Feyenoord lost, they're still in the Eredivisie race. Twente and AZ Alkmaar are still in the race. You know who is not in the race that makes us so incredibly cringe right now?
It's definitely Ajax that are last place. Completely. And going with what you said, 5-2 game from PSV against Ajax. And what we got to see with that game is two teams with two different realities with PSV and Ajax. PSV have the reality that they're the best and that they've done the right transfers. PSV have the reality that they're the worst in the Eredivisie right now, and they've been the worst in terms of decision-making with transfers. They couldn't leave so many reliable players like Kudus, like Tadic, like Lisandro Martinez. Just leave out of thin air. So many key players that just can't happen. And Ajax right now are last place. They lose 5-2 to PSV. They've got 13 goals scored this season and 21 goals conceded. It's not going to be Carlos Forbes. It's not going to be Brian Brobby that will save your season. You can't just rely on all the youngsters. You need that mix. The veterans with experience that we've seen in the past with you guys, and now we're seeing with PSV. And it's interesting, too. In that game of 5-2, Chucky Lozano scored a hat-trick. And the Mexican forward is the first player since 2005 to score a hat-trick against Ajax 2. So that was a mad stat. And in the Eredevisie is Chucky Lozano and Santiago Jimenez. Two forwards, two Mexican forwards that are dominating it. And that's good for the El Tri that need reasons to smile, okay? Santiago Jimenez is the best forward in Central America and North Americas. No doubt.
Yeah. And right now I'm building mental barriers for them to leave their goal scoring behind in the Eredevisie because I don't want it coming anywhere near CONCACAF anytime soon. But you know what? We don't even have a qualifying leading up to this. So it's all about the Copa America. It's all about the Gold Cup. It's all about that good stuff that's going to be played for in the future. But yeah, the future is bright.
How much will Santiago Jimenez cost
forwards
to a club?
Well, they want no less than 100 million is what I heard. And I don't know if that was tongue in cheek, but that is what was printed apparently. I don't think you're going to get 100 million, but then again, he's got 15 goals in 10 games this season. He just played his first Champions League game and he scored 2 goals in it. So who the heck knows by the end of the season, but that would break Eredevisie records.
Who needs a striker? Real Madrid? Chelsea? Maybe Juventus without Vlahovic? Yeah. Atletico de Madrid? Yeah. I've seen them pay 100 million Atletico. So
I could see Santi going to La Liga would make a whole lot of sense. It's just a matter of where do you go. Atletico would be great, but I just don't know in a setup that still has Simeone. I don't see it necessarily happening.
Imagine if Florentino Perez manages to do this in the next summer, okay? Landing Mbappe, landing Santiago Jimenez, and landing Alfonso Davies next to Xabi Alonso. That gives me those Ronaldo vibes. That gives me those representations of I'm bringing up Galacticos. When in the past summer he got Bellingham, he gets out of the Goulart. That might go well. So, that's some really good reasons to smile right there. But yeah, Eredevisie, that's where all the talent that we're mentioning is right there. So it's quite underrated. Great. And the Bundesliga title race, let's not forget. It's the Eredevisie title race and the Bundesliga title race that I'm hyped to watch every week. And Bayer Leverkusen are leading it with all due respect. The best team playing football going forward, I think, with Xabi Alonso. Yeah. The total football, the football that goes through every player, that has to be technically confident and gifted. That's what you see with Bayer Leverkusen. And Florian Wirtz deserves to be in the talk of top under 23 for what we're seeing this season in the Bundesliga. He might be the best. No, Jude Bellingham was the best under 23 youngster in the Bundesliga last season. I think Florian Wirtz is going to be the best under 23 in Bundesliga this season. It might be Frimpong second place. Xavi Simmons. Sorry, Xavi Simmons.
Xavi Simmons has been absolutely on fire, but Florian Wirtz has been blow for blow with him this past week. And for those of you living under a rock, Florian Wirtz delivered a hat trick of assists and a goal midweek. And then he just followed that up in a 2-1 Leverkusen win where he scored the goal and assisted the winner. He's got 13 goal involvements, 8 of those assists in 13 starts this season. And what really impresses me, there's no doubt he's a wizard right now in Xabi Alonso's system. There's no doubt, right? But what really impresses me, Alex, is he has come back from ACL injury, right? True. He came back from major surgery. And he has not been back that long. It's, I think, 10 months that he's been back. And it's just so impressive. And it really is so impressive how Xabi Alonso has maximized what he can get from the flanks, what he can get everywhere in the pitch. And Leverkusen is definitely one of the most entertaining teams to watch in football right now. In fact, could we go as far to say that they are the most entertaining team to watch? Bayer Leverkusen?
I think so.
In
In
football
Europa
right now?
League, League, there definitely are, and they're contenders to win it. It's between Liverpool,
beautiful.
Leverkusen, and Roma. I think that's the case right now. And we're mentioning Leverkusen a lot, but RB Leipzig, they're without Szoboszlai, without Nkunku, without Gvardiol. No problem, RB Leipzig, because they have Xavi Simons on loan, and Openda that in the Bundesliga has 8 goals and 2 assists. And Xavi Simons in his last 12 games has 4 goals and 7 assists. This is one of the best young duos to watch in football. And Xavi Simons deserves that recognition because he is a baller with the quality that he has, in my view. Such a good player.
And that midweek, that was Xavi Simons' first goal, first assist in the Champions League. And another one where he could have written himself off. He could have gotten in his own head, but he always kept the confidence. Went to PSV, played phenomenally, won the title. Then he went to, instead of going back to PSG, to actually go to RB Leipzig and walk his way into that 11, replace a guy like Nkunku, which is incredibly hard to do, and I know that's not necessarily like for like, and immediately set up another strike partnership with a guy like Lois Openda. You can't heap any more praise on a guy like Xavi Simons and what he's done. So again, Florian Wirtz, 20 years old. Xavi Simons, 20 years old. Those are the two we're going to be talking about likely all season in the Bundesliga. And
Jamal Musiala.
Jamal Musiala.
20 years
Exactly.
old.
Jamal Musiala at Bayern. And that Bayern win was the most wild win. It's the first time in Bundesliga history that there has been 3 ejections in the first half. And then Harry Kane goes and does that David Beckham goodness where he fires a goal, his second goal of the day. He fires from his own half, and it was perfectly placed. And Harry Kane is loving life in Munich. What can you say?
The best player in the Bundesliga, no doubt, and the best transfer in the Bundesliga in the last 3 years, no doubt, too. For what he's doing, replacing Lewandowski.
21 goal involvements in his last 13 games. It's unbelievable. He's already brought his season tally in the Bundesliga up to 12 goals. He's two below the guy that just set the record for the most goals ever in Bundesliga history in the first 8 matches, and that's Serhou Guirassy for Stuttgart, who unfortunately just picked up an injury. So it's basically going to be Harry Kane all day, every day from here on out in the Bundesliga.
25 goal involvements in 16 games.
That's insane. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, they are facing Dortmund next, I believe, right? And Harry Kane will be without Joshua Kimmich will not be there because he got that red card.
But Dortmund Frankfurt 2-2 didn't convince too much, at least until I was watching. So I think Bayern Munich could be getting the best out of that game. And in that 8-0 win against Darmstadt in the past weekend of Bayern Munich, we saw Manuel Neuer, the best goalkeeper ever in the history of football. Nearly a year after November 2022, he is finally back. And at 37, we're going to see Manuel Neuer back as goalkeeper for Bayern Munich. And he could have a hand. And in a team that needed leadership in the past few seasons, in my view. They're still winning Bundesliga, I agree, but leadership was the problem, as it seems. And I think Nagelsmann and Neuer didn't have the best of relationships. There was like a goalkeeping coach change, stuff like that. I don't know in depth, but that could have been a reason why we didn't see too much of him. And even Sommer. Sommer even left to Inter, and they're going to play Neuer now.
I'd say where there's smoke, there's fire there. That goalkeeping coach, I'd say that had a lot to do with it, for sure. But that Bayern game was wild because Bayern was not winning. It took, I believe it was 7 goals scored in 26 minutes in the second half, right? So they scored a goal, every 4 minutes there, every 3.5 minutes. I mean, they basically Robert Lewandowski'd Darmstadt without Robert Lewandowski on the pitch. So, hey, the Bundesliga is also a very, very fun league to watch for us right now. We didn't really talk about the Serie A that much because, unfortunately, we're filming this before the biggest games get done over the weekend. I believe Napoli, Milan?
But we can mention in the next podcast, episode 130. Let us know if you want to see this topic of who we think, a resets of who we think are the top 4 leaders in the Premier League, top 4 leaders in Serie A, La Liga, Eredevisie, Primera Liga, and in the French League too. Let us know down below if you'd like to see a comment like this. And is there any last thing you want to mention in the podcast, Breton? Kendry Paez, we mentioned.
Oh, he's so good. 2 goals, relatively. I mean, he's just on fire, and Chelsea fans are going to love him. And I hope it continues because Independiente del Valle, you're going to hear a couple more names come down the pike soon. But no, I'm going to end it on a little bit of a sour note. I'm a little bit shocked to even look at this. But go take a look at the Swiss Super League standings. You will find that FC Basel. This is FC Basel that helped craft Mo Salah, Shaqiri, Granit Xhaka.
Artur Cabral.
Who else? Artur Cabral. Right now, more recently, who the heck did they do more recently? Of course, I'm missing where this is right now. Anyway, you take a look at that. Oh, Noah Okafor. Artur Cabral, we already mentioned. Zeki Amdouni, who moved to Burnley and has been a pretty good star for Switzerland so far. Anyway, Basel has won 1 game in 11. They are dead last by 5 points in the Super League. They have 8 losses, and they just lost to the 10th place team, 2 above them, in the league. 3-0 over the weekend. I know we can sit here and be angry about Ajax. They're not going to get relegated this season. I know we can be worried about John Textor's Lyon, but they're probably not going to get relegated this season, okay? Basel is the only team I can look at which has a insane production of greats, or of stars, I should say. You know, Akanji came from there. El Neni, who I know is beloved by Arsenal fans, even if he wasn't the best player or isn't the best player. But Basel has a very real possibility of a Swiss Super League giant going down, and that's going to shake things up quite a bit. I know it's not going to shake things up for everybody, but us here at FC Wonderkid, it's blowing my mind right now, thinking of all the great players that have come from there, only to see this happen. 1 game in 11.
It's all about perspective. Young boys, they suffer goals and braces in the Champions League from Erling Haaland, but they ain't that bad. They ain't that bad. No. It's all about perspective right now. Zurich and Young Boys, they're happy. And Basel are in the mud. Lyon are in the mud. Ajax are in the mud. And Chelsea, as it seems, are in the mud too right now. But let us know your thoughts down below in the comment section about episode 129. And thank you so much for listening until now to episode 129. And if you're listening until now, just like this video. And thank you so much for going bold another episode, people.